All right, we're doing something a little different today. I was having a smoke with my neighbor on Monday, and we got to talking about Coming to America, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. First time I saw it, I was 8 years old and immediately loved it, and I've watched it countless times since. If we watched it on mute, I could probably recite every line. And we're going to go over every character in the movie, and we're going to be putting them on a tier list. This should be a lot of fun. I know this movie like the back of my hand, so we can definitely have a very good in-depth conversation about all of these characters. What are we going to? Okay, so let's go over the rules real quick. So, what characters are included? Basically, every character with a line. There's some characters without lines. I'm sorry, with lines like the Colonel. Some of the girls in the speed dating segment. If it's so minor and that I wouldn't include it. Just they're just going to be put into a low tier for that, and that's not really fair to punish them for have barely having any scenes. So basically, everyone with a speaking line is included, except for a few exceptions. And there's one character that even made the cut without any lines at all. And then what's the criteria we're going off of? So this is a comedy movie first and foremost. So obviously, the more hilarious your character is, you're gonna get a high rating. You're gonna get a high tier for that. But barring that, some characters are don't necessarily deliver jokes or gags, so we still have to rate them. So we'll be basically judging them on like how well their character advances the plot, how well they fit in the story, how well they do a good job of playing that character, so our audience understands exactly what they're all about and how they fit into the story. Just how are they as a character? So those are the two criteria: how hysterical you are and your character in the movie. And in the place of the tiers, we've got representing S tier. I am very happy to be here. In the A tier, yes, in the face. In the B tier, I try to think of the most neutral line I could. So I landed at my buns have no seeds. Because what is more neutral than a seedless bun? In the C tier, we have stay off the drugs. And finally, in D tier, we have when you think of garbage, think of Akeem. Incidentally, my favorite line when I was 8 years old and didn't understand some of the more mature jokes. All right, so let's get started. We'll go in alphabetical order, and that means first up is actually Akeem. What more needs to be said? Akeem is obviously the protagonist of the story. The story doesn't work without him and his motivations. As far as jokes go, I mean, he's the star of the movie. He comes at us with nonstop zingers. But it's not even just that; it's also his character, right? Because he's so sincere, like overly so, that a lot of the jokes he makes, he doesn't even know what he's saying. Um, for a lot of these characters, I will be probably doing their bits as we go, but for Akeem, there's too many. We don't need to spend too much time here. Akeem is obviously S tier. That goes without saying, just due to the fact that again, the movie doesn't work without him, and his character is advances the whole movie. It works comedically. It works for the story. Easy S tier. All right, next up we have this character. I think he doesn't have a name. I think he's just called the cabbie. He has a little bit of a dialogue with Akeem and Semi in the cab, but mostly he's known for his one line, "You dumb fuck," which later, of course, sets up Akeem's great joke. What does dumb fuck mean? He is a one joke character essentially, but he kills it. Like I love his scene. I think it's hilarious. Just the anger and the aggression. It's so good. As far as one joke characters goes, solid. So I think he's a perfect candidate for my buns have no seeds. All right, next we have Clarence. Clarence is Eddie Murphy's character in the Mighty Sharp Barbershop. Uh, so many classic lines, almost too many to count. Obviously, you have the Joe Lewis bit. He's like, he's better than Sugar Ray. He's better than Cassius Clay. He's better than okay. What's his name? Mike Tyson. Look like a bulldog. Mike Tyson. Obviously, at the end of that, he's got fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Who's next? Um, of the Martin Luther King bit, like, Sweets, I met Dr. Martin Luther King. I met that Martin Luther King in Memphis, Tennessee, in 1962, or I think I got the year in the city mixed up. But the ending with Doctor, and then somebody punched me in the chest. I said Dr. King. He said, "Whoops, I thought you were somebody else." Even like when he's telling Akeem like, oh, you can't be looking for a girl at a bar. You need to go to a library or a place where you find nice girls. I don't know, like that's not even supposed to be that funny of a joke, but I don't know, just the way he's giving those lines, it always cracks me up. Clarence is one of the, like, as far as like joke density, jokes per scene, one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest characters in the movie. There's no end to his lines and how often they're quotable. I think he is A tier. We'll come back to some of his scenes when we talk about the other barbershop characters. All right, next we have Cleo McDowell. So here's the thing. I actually think Cleo is like the heart and soul of the movie. I know Akeem is obviously the protagonist, but you can make an argument that Cleo is actually the most important character in the movie. You learn just enough about his background to understand why he is the way he is, right? Modest upbringing, worked really hard to provide for a good life for his daughters, and doesn't want to see them struggle, right? Just a few lines, but you totally get what he's all about. And then the character does a great job of kind of repeating those motivations in the scenes. Absolutely hysterical. The part about explaining the difference between McDonald's and McDowell's, classic. Again, one of the scenes, younger me was their favorite. My dad actually pointed this out when we watched it together when I was young, that his favorite scene of Cleo's is when Daryl is ringing the doorbell and he has to be running to the door and like in an attempt to shoo him away, but he's so nervous that he keeps tripping over himself. Like that is a really good scene. Um, yeah, no, Cleo McDowell is S tier to me. He's, like I said, probably after Akeem, probably I would say the second most important character in the movie. The older you get, the more you even when you're young, you love him because he's like kind of silly, but even when you get older, like you appreciate what he's all about even more. So he to me is S tier. All right, next we have Daryl. Daryl is obviously played as a complete dickhead. You're supposed to hate him, so he does a good job of that. He doesn't have any real jokes except for very mean-spirited ones, especially ones at the basketball game. Stuff that I probably can't even do an impression of because someone will just clip 5 seconds of it and claim that I'm the one saying them. They're very tasteless. Other than that, I mean, the only joke I can even think of he has that it would even qualify would be, I would have helped you, but I had a cup of coffee in my hand. Like that's probably like that's, and even that is like a joke because he's such a dickhead, right? But because of that, I mean, Eric LaSalle is playing him exactly how you should be, hateable. He gets like humbled a little bit at the end, but he still gets with Patrice, so that's kind of like, all right, that's not a bad outcome either. Um, yeah, I say B tier. I mean, he does his job as the character, which is to make us really hate him. But um, I don't know. Maybe A tier. The We'll come back to the Jerry curls in a little bit because that obviously is a big part of his character. I should have put the Jenks. I should have put the parents and the grandma in here, but I forgot. All right, that's okay. All right, moving on. We have Amani. Amani is Akeem's first bride. I think she's A tier. I think she's lower than Clarence, but she's in A tier. She's only in the movie for about a 3 minute scene, maybe 4 minute scene, but she completely owns every minute of it. Bark like a dog, obviously, a bigger dog. The whatever you like meme that my wife and I is we use that daily. This movie, by the way, also not even very just significant for my upbringing, but also the collective zeitgeist of my wife and I, because she obviously loved this movie too, even before we met each other, and we found out there are so many connections and references to our real parallel lives to this movie. So, and the Amani scene is definitely one of them. Very, very solid character. Lets you know exactly what it is Akeem is trying to avoid. Um, yeah, the obsequiousness is played perfectly. Yeah, A tier. All right, next we have King Jaffe. So, like Daryl, being played in a way that makes you kind of root against him, because he is obviously basically the focal point of what's holding Akeem back. A few like jokes, I guess, like "Son, I just assumed you're having sex with your bathers," and some stuff that's inadvertent, like "My son works," or "No, do not alert him." Lines of that nature. Other than that, yeah, most like he's definitely played in a way that makes you want to despise what he's all about. Obviously, the conversation with Cleo, that was very tasteless, so that's what you want to get out of that. But he also does reconcile his views at the end. So he does the right thing at the end, and he's just such a commanding presence that you can't really pull that anything against him for too long. He will be in A tier as well. All right. I said in the beginning there might be some upsets. There might be some characters you that place higher or lower than what you think, and I think we have our first surprise of the day. This character, only called the landlord, no name, is, you know what? I want to say Akeem maybe says Mr. Blank in one scene. It's so fast you would blink and miss it. But nonetheless, on IMDb, Frankie Faison called just the landlord S tier. He might be the funniest character in the movie. Just in terms of how consistent every single line he has and is delivered to the audience. So let's go over some of his scenes really quickly. The first time you meet him, he's opening the door. He's a businessman in Queens. He should be trying to transact and contribute to personal commerce, you would imagine, right? He opens the door and his first line is, "Okay, what the fuck do you want?" Okay, all right. What is going on? Where are we? What is this is not Zamunda anymore. Then of course Akeem comes back with, "We desire a room." Like, "You better not be wasting my time. You got money?" They flash the pin. All right, already 2 for 2. Just the voices is just, this scene is coming. "Come on in, gentlemen." Of course, that little tone shift, pretty solid right there. But then the next line, this is the thing, this is the line that started this whole project. Next line: "Sorry if I was brusque, gentlemen. Sometimes we get boo-boos in here without a dollar to their name." Boo-boos. Sometimes we get boo-boos in here without a dollar to their name. You could have used any word there, like bozo, clown, like, I don't know. There's a million words. Boo-boos? Are you kidding me? That is the funniest word. Not only by itself, but in that line. Stop it. Like, just, sometimes we get boo-boos in here without a dollar to their name. Bravo. All right. The next, these are immediate, again, line after line, just a bing, bang, bung. Then we get possibly my favorite gag in the movie, which is the guy, Stu, tumbling down the stairs, to which landlord replies, "Hey, Stu, you're Red Stu, motherfucker, and don't be trying to play that falling down the stairs shit on me, you conscious?" All right. What the... Okay. What the fuck are we even watching at this point? So, if you're to believe him, this guy, Stu, what do we know about him? He's tried this before. He's doing this ostensibly to fake injury, garner sympathy, I don't know, something, to get out of paying his rent. And that the landlord is so unimpressed by all of this, fucking says, "Hey, Stu, your rent's due, motherfucker," and then shows no sympathy, obviously, and says, "Don't be pulling this falling down the stairs shit again. You conscious." So Either this is the most elaborate con ever involving serious bodily harm to Stu, in which it's hilarious, or it's not a con and he's actually hurt. And this guy's still yelling, "Hey Stu, you're Red Stu, motherfucker!" And that's even funnier. So I don't really. It's for reasons like this why he is in S tier. The rest of the movie, great, kills every scene he's in. That opening scene, obviously, the elevator is a death trap. Damn shame what they did to that dog. The bathroom's got a little bit of a fly problem. I didn't even get into all those lines. Later on, he has this one line that I use all the time, which is, if anyone needs my attention, I will say, "You may enter," in his particular voice. That's a favorite of mine. First real upset of the day. I bet some of you did not see that coming. The landlord is S tier. One of the best characters in the movie. All right, moving on. We go from comedy to story strictly. We have Lisa McDowell. So obviously the love interest definitely does a great job of showing you, the audience, why Akeem would fall for someone like her. Very independent, very strong-willed, very cordial, very pleasant all around, very honest, right? Doesn't want to accept the gift um, unless she knows where it's coming from. Yeah, you definitely love her right off the bat. You definitely see why Akeem would fall for her, and the audience roots for her to also. Not too many jokes. Um, can't really think if Lisa has any real jokes per se. Yeah. But on the strictly on the merit of character, she would have to go in A tier too. I don't know if I'm gonna stack rank these within tiers or not yet, but while I'm deciding, she can go. She can go here. Yeah. You know why I think? You know why I think she might even be a little higher than King Joffrey, because like, let's face it, King Joffrey, like, portrayed amazingly by James Earl Jones in such a dignified, regal manner, is actually, it's going to sound weird, it's actually the easier role of the two, because it's more one dimensional. You get a character in there to bring their best bravado, they're going to kill it. Like, I feel like Morgan Freeman would have killed it in this role also, for example. But Lisa is a much more subtle character. You have to do work a lot harder to get the audience to really like you and know what you're all about. So for that reason, I'm going to put Lisa slightly higher. All right, next we have. So I was shocked that IMDb called this character Maurice. I just always knew him as Louis Anderson, and I definitely don't think they ever say his name, right? Because I know, like, just about every line of dialogue, and maybe it's on his name tag, but let's talk about him real quick. So he's got a little sight gag with spilling the shake on himself, but really he's known for one crucial joke also, which is like, "Right now I'm washing lettuce. Soon I'll be on fries. And then the grill. A couple of years, middle management. And that's when the big bucks come in." Assistant manager. Sorry, not middle manager. That's his one real claim to fame. Just like how sincere he is being about his ambitions. In fact, Ahmad Crump, shout out to Ahmad, the arena host for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and in my opinion, the best arena host in the NBA. He and I, one time, we were talking and the subject of, like, arena food came up. I forget what it was, but it was just something about, like, listing, like, arena, like, oh, peanuts, popcorn, ice cream, and without any mention of of coming to America, I just turned to him and I was just like, "Right now I'm washing lettuce. Soon I'll be on fries." He cracked up so hard just because, like, immediately we knew what we were talking about. So I'm telling you, like, that's very usable in everyday life. It's a great line. And so for that, as a one joke character, I think he goes on top of my buns have no seeds. Very appropriate for a McDowell's employee to be in seedless bun tier. All right, next we have Morris. So this is Arsenio Hall's character in the barbershop. They definitely don't say his name is Morris at any point. but that's what IMDb says, so we'll go with that. Morris is mostly there just to play off of Clarence and Saul. But the one line he always gives that is sticks in my memory for some reason, I don't know why, is that's right, he did beat whip Joe Lewis's ass. Just the way he delivers that line in particular always was like hysterical to me. And every like watchers of my stream will know like whenever I'm coming across a question, Joe Lewis is the answer. I almost always have to bust out with, "That's right, he did whoop Joe Lewis's ass." So yeah, that's the only real line. Good and terrible from the church scene. Other than that, yeah, he doesn't have much. Just him being there is obviously funny, but I think he falls a little short compared to because that Joe Lewis line, like only I caught that. Like I don't think anyone else would find that one line as funny as I do. Whereas Louis Anderson and the Cabbies one jokes are anyone who likes the movie would remember those. So for that, unfortunately, Morris will be our first uh, member of the Stay Off the Drugs tier. All right, next we have Oha. So this might be controversial. This might be shock some people, but I think Oha is only an okay character. I would put him at maybe the bottom of B tier. So he has actually a ton of screen time. It's not like a lot of the other characters. He is on screen quite a bit. He has a few small jokes here and there, like "most amusing, sir," or "wipers." But really, he's known mostly for "She's your queen to be," which is a classic scene. Everyone knows it. It's a big meme, and it's great. Don't get me wrong; it's awesome. But I don't necessarily think. I think a lot of people kind of remember more that there's more to Oha than there actually is in this movie. So, you know, obviously that bit is better than "you dumb fuck," but yeah, I think Oha is actually like very much associated with the culture of this movie, but I actually think he is only somewhat funny and important. So yeah, that's where Oha goes. All right, next we have Patrice. Patrice is good. Patrice definitely has a bunch of jokes, mostly just like surrounding her like immaturity and incredulousness. I'll get to our best line in a second, but before I do, just the sarcasm to which she talks to Akeem is like bye, or like being tricked by Semi into thinking that he's the prince. Um, yeah, there. I maybe she doesn't have as much of a role as I remember, but the one line that she says that I definitely use in everyday speech is, no one's gonna get you earrings like that unless you're giving a little bootay." Yeah, so I definitely tell my friends that they should be giving up the bootay in that particular timbre quite a bit. So that is the reason why she will place a little bit higher. That is a great line. I would say better than Daryl, better than dumb fuck guy, obviously. I think this is a good place for Patrice. All right, next we have Peaches. Peaches, and the other one doesn't. I don't think has a name. Um, yeah, her name is Peaches. She is the best. You know the conclusion of that line. Um, yeah, so remember I mentioned not everyone from the speed dating date scene is included because a lot of them are just kind of like filler, but between the big gags. And this is one of the big gags. First time I saw it, I definitely thought it was like so original and funny. I think this gag actually falls off a little bit, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of one of the ones where like the landlord, his shit will always be funny no matter what. I could be watching this movie the 200th time, and that his intro scene is still the funniest 4 minutes of movie history. But this one is like the first time I saw him, like, oh, that's so funny. And then after that, you're kind of like, you're not really laughing at that scene anymore. So for that reason, I think she also, unfortunately, falls into Stay Off the Drugs tier. All right, next we have Queen Aeolian. Definitely, well, hold on, I shouldn't speak so fast. Not definitely no jokes. She has like um, comedy adjacent scenes. Like put the sock in it, Jaffe. Like that's kind of funny coming from what we know about her vocal inflections for the rest of the movie. When she gets into the lazy boy, the little physical acting when she was like, "Woo," like that's actually kind of funny. But mostly there, she's there. Mostly she's obviously a story driven character. And there's this one scene which I think is the most poignant and heartfelt in this particular movie, which is when Akeem comes back to the McDowell house, uh, and he's like, where's Lisa? As she goes like, oh, you do care for her. It's like, and Akeem goes, mother, I love her. And she says, well, then go after her. So, showing that she completely understands her son and what it is he needs and wants in his life, without any hesitation, tells him to go for what he wants. So probably the emotional fulcrum of the movie is that particular exchange. And of course, great Jamaican goddess Madge Sinclair owning that role. Obviously, Jamaicans get plus points in our household. So for that reason, I think she is actually probably the highest placing of all characters based on story. Well, other than Cleo, of course, but Cleo is funny also. So out of the triumvirate of not necessarily funny story characters, I think she goes into the top spot. All right. Next, we have Randolph and Mortimer Duke reprising a cameo from Trading Places. One second. So Trading Places, also one of my favorite movies. Also probably a movie I could deliver every line to if we watched it on mute. So I have to say one thing about this intro of Randy and Mortimer that doesn't quite make sense to me, which is, remember now, this one on the left is Mortimer, played by, I believe the actor's name is Don Amici. And then the one on the right is Randy. He's played by Ralph Bellamy, right? Don Amici, Ralph Bellamy. Yeah. So if in Trading Places, we know it's shown that Randy is the one who orchestrated the bet to see if Winthorpe and Billy Ray could have opposite lives. We know for a fact that Randy set that up. At the end, when they're getting bankrupt from the commodities trade, Mortimer yells at Randy saying, I know, I told you we shouldn't have put everything in this, you asshole. So right now, granted, it could be an unreliable narrator. It could be Morty is deflecting the blame. It could be they were both to blame. It could be he's just angry. All of that is true. But if we just go by what is on screen, if we just take that as we can accept it as fact, then losing all their money from the commodities trade was also Randy's fault. So the bet is definitely his fault, and losing all their money is probably his fault. But in this movie, when they're first introduced, they're like, he goes, Randolph, and he says, I'm still not talking to you, Mortimer. That never, if anything, Mortimer should be the one angry with Randolph. Now, of course, they're rich assholes, and they might not behave rationally. But I just wanted to point out that is always struck me as strange. As far as their role in the movie, their scene is great, obviously, because it's a callback to Trading Places. You hope that with this experience, first of all, I don't know why they don't recognize Akeem as being very similar looking to Billy Ray. I hope we discover in Trading Places that they are quite racist. You would hope that with this experience being helped out by Akeem, that they may turn a new leaf on that chapter in their life. I'm always the eternal optimist when it comes to the human condition. So I have always believing in the good of people. So maybe they will change that about them. You could say they've suffered enough, having lost their entire fortune and having to be homeless for a few years. A few $1,000s, not enough to make them rich, but get them on their feet, not homeless anymore. That's a nice ending. So yeah, that's a lot of. We went into their backstory quite a bit, but they're definitely at least in B tier. I think higher than Oha. I think below fries and lettuce. So right here is good. All right. Next we have Randy Watson. I think this goes without saying. I think this is easy. I think he's the top of S tier. Not only do I think he's S tier, I think he might be the funniest character in the movie. So, a little backstory. When I first watched this movie at 8 years old, I thought like the jokes like, oh, when you think of garbage, you think of Akeem. I thought like that was really funny. I thought like some other things were funny, but I didn't understand. I didn't have the cultural context to understand certain jokes, including the entire Randy Watson scene. So as a kid, I thought that was the most boring 5 6 minutes. I thought I fast forwarded through it sometimes. I did not understand that at all. I thought it was just some guy singing in a weird voice. Fast forward now a few years, maybe I'm a teenager. I know who Whitney Houston is. I know the history of that song. Um, and when I revisit this movie, I'm like, wow, that is actually the funniest scene in the whole movie. Um, the cultural impact goes without saying. Everyone knows who Randy Watson is. Everyone knows who Sexual Chocolate is. Um, there's essentially two Randy Watson jokes, even though it's one scene. It's two separate jokes, right? There's the part where he's being introduced. You know, he's stomping around stage, it's like Reverend Brown. This man's been my reverend my whole life, and I love him very much. Wow, you're also lovely. Give you in the clapping mood. Give yourselves a hand. You're also lovely. Uh, why in the clapping mood? Give it up for my band, Sexual Chocolate. Of course, the first time Sexual Chocolate was uttered in the scene, it must have been the first time it entered the popular lexicon at all. I'm not like a cultural anthropologist, but I can't imagine that it existed before this movie. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that with no verifying whatsoever. I'm just going to assume it for fact. But even if it wasn't, like, it definitely was the cause of the spread. So I meant, yeah, the introduction is stomping around, and then of course the singing scene. Like I said, probably the funniest scene in the whole movie. I put him right here. I personally think the landlord holds his own compared to Randy Watson's scene, but because I'm confident that every other enjoyer of this movie will probably point towards the Randy Watson scene instead. Because of that, I acknowledge that he is higher tier than the landlord. The actual singing, of course, I said I would do everyone's bit. This one's gonna be hard because it's. I mean, I can definitely do it. I I know exactly how he inflects every lyric. Um, it's just gonna be not funny and stupid if I do it, but I'll do a little. So of course, like I believe the children are future, teach them well and let them lead the way. And then like with the rushing of the rhythm there, inside, give them a sense of pride to make it easier. But anyways, the point is the entire performance is so unhinged. Sexual chocolate. Sexual chocolate is the two funniest words in the English language when put together. They say cellar door is the nicest two-word phrase. Sexual chocolate is the funniest two-word phrase when put together in English language. And Randy Watson's scene is the funniest 4 or 5 minutes of movie in history. So for that reason, he's easiest here. Oh, and right on topic, we have Reverend Brown next. Reverend Brown is Arsenio's character in the exact same scene. He's probably Arsenio's funniest character. There's this one line he gives right before he introduces Randy Watson that I always like to quote as being super funny for some reason. Is when he goes like, "You may know him as Joe the policeman from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama." Yeah, I always love the way he said that line. Um, Jackson Heights own. Uh, yeah, Reverend Brown is Arsenio's funniest character, and for that reason, he can go at the top of A tier as well. All right, next we have Samuel L. Jackson as the robber. So not really a comedic character at all, right? Committing a violent felony, that's not funny. But for some reason, I don't know, I find this scene a little on the funny side. Um, Obviously a very small bit part, one of Samuel L. Jackson's first parts, but the anger is there that will come to associate with a ton of his roles in the future. You can see the star power kind of emanating just from the way he plays this scene out. Um, I think he does a great job. I mean, he only gets like 2 lines and like 2 minutes of screen time to work with what he's got, but he kills it. Fuck you. Who the fuck is this asshole? Um, yeah, I don't know what else to be said. I think it goes above Daryl. Yeah, B tier, solid. All right. Remember, I said not every character from the speed dating scene was included. Remember, I also said when I was 8 years old watching this movie for the first time, I didn't understand all the jokes. This lady's joke was one of those. When I was 8 years old, I didn't understand her joke at all. Fast forward, teenage years, even more so in your 20s when you've dated a little bit. S tier. S tier. So, let's talk about her scene. This actress, I apologize. I don't know your name. You crushed it. This is of the shortest screen time to most hilarious character award, easily this Shots lady. So let's go over her scene. Again, didn't understand it. I was 8. Nowadays, one of my favorites. All right, right, ready? Right, shot. See, that's the problem. I can't find a man that can satisfy me. Most guys go hour and a half. That's it. A man's got to put in overtime for me to get off. That's it. That's her whole line. It's those like 2 sentences. First of all, she has like these big bulging eyes that she bulges at the exact moment her sentences have inflection, right? It's like, I can't find a man who can satisfy me. And the idea that this is a person introducing their dating life as a man's got to make love to me for a very long time for me to be gratified. Saying it in this manner, in these mannerisms, I'm sorry. That's S tier. If you don't believe me, go watch her 20 seconds of screen time again. That is possibly the funniest gag in the movie. I know I've been using a lot of superlatives, but you got to think of it this way. Randy Watson is like the most like consistently excellent. He's like the LeBron. He's had a 20-year unbelievable career. Frankie Faison as the landlord is like Jordan. Like not as long of a career, but highest peak. And then this lady is like Malachi Flynn, like 50 points out of nowhere. But yeah, I think this is the trinity of the 3 funniest, actually like just funniest characters in the movie. Woo! I need a little moment to compose myself. But I hope you all agree. Go back and reevaluate this lady's scene. She is S tier. All right, next we have Saul. Saul is Eddie Murphy's Jewish character from the barbershop scene. What's there to say about Saul? The voice obviously is so funny. The line, what about Rocky Marciano? He beat Joe Lewis's ass. That's right, he did whoop Joe Lewis's ass. See, I can't even do that Joe Lewis line without going into the next one. Obviously, the soup joke played for how drawn out it is. This is beautiful. What is this, velvet? Tiffany and I use that one quite a bit. Saul is... everything he says is super funny. There he goes. Every time I talk about boxing, white man got to go up and bring up Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano. I'm going to tell you something. Rocky Marciano's good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit. Which always struck me as hilarious because it's funny because it's nonsensical, it's tautological, but that is how actual people argue. He's like, he wants to say, I'm talking about Clarence right now. Clarence wants to say Joe Louis is better than Rocky Marciano. So his reasoning is, Rocky Marciano is good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't shit. So his reason for Joe Louis being better than Rocky Marciano is just that Joe Louis is better than Rocky Marciano, is because Rocky Marciano ain't shit. That's not an argument. That's just repeating your contention in the first place. But it's funny because that is how actual people argue because they don't know any better. All of this is to say Saul is definitely top of A tier. He and Clarence go right next to each other. Uh, yeah, that's a good spot for Saul. Next is Semi. All right. So remember, there's some upsets here, and not all in the direction of placing higher. Tiffany was the first one to put me on this theory, and after she said it, I kind of agreed. So Tiffany, my darling, gorgeous, beautiful wife, uh, has always said that Semi kind of sucks. Semi is not a good character. First, he's not that funny, and he is a bad character. Like he's someone that the audience is supposed to like not root for, but at least the audience considers him like one of the good guys. But he actually does a lot of bad things. So let's go over this. So as far as jokes go, yeah, I don't know. Freeze, you rhinoceros pizzle. Um, like what is this? Of 60 days of fornication or however many days it was. Um, Most of his jokes are about like not getting laid. Um, do you realize I have not had sex in since we got here or for however long? Um, Yeah, if you not that many like funny jokes if you think about it, despite being ostensibly the second main character, the second character at least that we're following throughout the entire journey. Um, yeah, at least we learn how to make French fries. Yeah, like they're not like the hard hitters. And then on top of that, think about all the ways he behaves, right? We know he's misogynistic. He wants Akeem to just choose a gorgeous woman who doesn't think for themselves. He is all of even in New York, he's like apparently these are the best women New York have to offer, so he just wants Akeem to again pick the most beautiful woman regardless of personality. Um, he exposes Akeem's plot by inadvertently by begging for money from the king. So he kind of unravels the plot. He doesn't have a good work ethic. He's not willing to, perform the honorable, honest day's work the way Akeem is. I think my wife is right about this. I think if you think about it, Semi actually maybe kind of sucks. So was that the point that he was supposed to suck? Not necessarily. Um, I think Semi goes into barely into the stay off the drugs tier. This might be controversial. Let me know in the comments. All right. All right, looking at these last few, we've got some big hitters and we've got a lot of like small characters. So I'm gonna do these last few really quickly and backwards. This lady, I don't think she has a name. She's just a Western Union lady, but she was in the credits, so that made her important enough to be included at least. Um, Really, she's a one joke character. Dear King Jaffe Jaffer, we are in dire straits. Why not make it a cool million? Pretty solid, pretty good. That deadpan Brooklyn or I guess Queens. Yeah, that deadpan Queens accent, solid. Um, it's not good enough to rank any higher uh, than some of these other one joke characters who their one joke is much better. But I think yeah, she's solid. All right, next we have the vendor from the St. John's game. Um, I am a loyal citizen of Zamunda. I will cherish this day for the rest of my life. Yeah, another one gag character. This actor's actually famous. I don't know what his name is, but he actually I recognize him. Yeah, super super good gag. Just a gentleman I met in the bathroom. Um, yeah, probably better than you dumb fuck. So I think right here is good for the vendor. All right, next we have Ugly Woman, just credited as Ugly Woman by Arsenio. So this might actually be Arsenio's funniest character. Uh, yeah, the particular gag about well, no, not even a gag. Well, yeah, it's a gag, but really only has two lines. One is I, I wanted to tear you apart. I saw you from across the room. I would tear you apart. And then, of course, your friend too. So Arsenio as an ugly woman hitting on Arsenio, and then Arsenio spitting out the drink. That's a great scene. Yeah, that's Arsenio's funniest character, and in the upper echelon of A tier. All right, next we have Sweets, the last barber at the barber shop. He's known mostly for that boy good. Um, no, or and he but he does have a few other lines. He's involved in both the he was like, oh, you ain't meet no Frank Sinatra, but he also is like, you did not meet Dr. Martin Luther the King. So so yeah, that boy good is obviously a huge meme now that's used in everyday life quite a bit. But even that Dr. Martin Luther King line, just because the way he overinflects every word, like sometimes we'll be driving down a street in a city and we'll pass Martin Luther King Boulevard, and I will look at it and I'll immediately go like Dr. Martin Luther King in that particular voice. So there is more to Sweets the character than just that boy good. There is a little bit more to him. So because of that, he's definitely in B tier. We'll put him. See, perfect example of I think he more people associate Oha with Coming to America, but I actually think Sweets is the funnier, better character with more quotable lines. All right, quick little 5 second break, but I already know what's coming up, so I need to brace myself. Remember, I said there's one character who makes the list despite not having any lines at all. We actually already talked about him already when talking about another character. And that character is Stu. Hey, Stu, your rent's due, motherfucker. Don't be don't be pulling that falling the stairs shit on me. You conscious. This guy, this actor, or a stuntman, I don't know. Like I'm sure it was done safely. Does his tumble down the stairs for the gag, is lying there again, either a con or actually injured, and landlord is not giving a fuck. Hilarious either way. The last thing he does is kind of twitch his neck and fart. Um, that alone puts him at least in the bottom of A tier. And before we go any further, there's one more story about why we've done this exercise so far. Because Coming to America is a microcosm of all of us, all of our experiences, all our collected zeitgeist. I've said till now, there are memes, there are memorable lines that are applicable to everyday life quite a bit. And there are other ones that I also say that about, but facetiously, because they are not that common. There's a line in You've Got Mail with when Tom Hanks tells Meg Ryan, the Godfather is, I'm paraphrasing, the Godfather is the sum of human knowledge. It goes on to like quote some famous lines like, go to the mattresses, offer you can't refuse, take the gun, leave the cannoli. Or no, I'm sorry, leave the gun, take the cannoli. All these lines that he's similarly facetiously saying are ubiquitous to everyday life. Um, that brings us to here. I had a colleague at my old company. Last name was Stewart. No, I mean, no one watched. I just say his name. It doesn't matter. No one watches my channel anyway. His name's Aaron Stewart. He was a great guy. We got along great because Aaron Stewart, black dude. I'm sitting a few cubes down. We're the only ones like that we would joke to each other. Like a reference would come up and we would make like a Chappelle show joke to each other, and we'd be the only two who understood that. So we got along great. And Coming to America was a topic of some of these conversations. And my man, Aaron Stewart, frigging, I only did this when no one else was around because it wouldn't be work appropriate otherwise. But when it was just me and him who saw each other in the hallway or at our desks, I would have to say it. Hey, Stu, your rent's due, motherfucker. So I'm just letting everyone know. There's every line in this movie, ranging from what you think is the most popularly applicable down to what you may think is never usable, is in fact very much applicable to everyday life. So, that's my story with that particular scene. And now it's always going to be one of my favorite scenes, and for that reason, even Stu hits the bottom of A tier. This brings us to our last and final entry. Soul Glow, not necessarily a character per se, but kind of it's the commercial, right? You have your character, you have your the two actors, and the singing is a voiceover on that. So we can count that as one character. Um, so I bet most of you would say Soul Glow is easy S tier. Uh, Definitely entered the popular consciousness. Uh, One of the biggest memes to come out of the movie for sure. I used to have this exact graphic on a T-shirt that I would own. Um, the song, obviously, very memorable. I can't do it right now because for obvious reasons. Um, so most of you, for those reasons, would say easy S tier, right? I'm gonna zag a little and say that it's only at the top of A tier. And here's why. I actually don't think Soul Glow comes up all that often or is easy to reference. Um, First of all, you don't see Jerry curls that much anymore, so that makes it hard. Uh, Not that many words or phrases in everyday speech have soul or glow in them, and when you do, it's still hard to make that connection. So it's very rare that for people just to be able to break out to each other. Just let your soul glow. Well, I ended up doing it anyway. I said I wasn't going to, but I did. And I didn't even hit the high notes, so sorry about that. But yeah, I think some of you might say Soul Glow is S tier, but I think it's only an A tier. But at the very top of A tier. So that's basically the whole tier list. We'll do a quick little recap. The three funniest characters in the movie are Randy Watson, the landlord, and this lady. And then joining them in S tier are Akeem and Cleo because they are also hilarious, but at the same time are the two kind of heartbeats of the story, of the story portion of the movie. In high A tier, you've got Soul Glow, Clarence. Too many funny lines to even go over. Saul, what about Rocky Marciano? Yeah, that they are, and then Arsenio's ugly woman character, Arsenio's Reverend Brown character. So these are some of your funnier characters and bits. Queen Aeolian, Lisa, and King Jaffe. Yeah, your story element characters. Whatever you like. You got Imani, and then finally you got Hey Stu. You're Rent Stew, motherfucker. All right. At in B tier, you've got right now I'm washing lettuce. Soon I'll be on fries. That boy good. Um, Randy and Mortimer. Oha, maybe dropping a little bit more than some people thought. Patrice. The vendor, you dumb fuck, the cabbie, Sammy loves the robber, and Daryl. I think that looks about right also. And finally, no one got landed in garbage tier, which is what I expected. There are no bad characters in this movie. This movie is perfect. But in stay off the drugs tier, we have this lady at Western Union and Peaches and Morris as kind of either didn't have enough jokes to work with or had maybe a few pretty funny lines, but probably in a lesser tier than some of the other guys. And then finally we have Semi, who is not Semi doesn't do all that much. So there you have it. That is the tier list. I had a ton of fun doing this. I will discuss this movie with anyone at any time. Yeah, hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Thanks.